Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Hello. Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy has a strong leg. It's over in. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep to the end zone. Up the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35.
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Welcome to episode 5 of the official Heisman Trophy podcast. I'm Chris Houston, and if you are a Notre Dame fan, you're really going to love this show today. Later on in the episode, we have a lengthy discussion with 1987 Heisman Trophy winner and NFL Hall of Famer Tim Brown. And we're going to lead things off with Sam Hartman, the quarterback for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Hartman came to Notre Dame from Wake Forest, and he's off to a great start so far this year. And like everyone who comes on our show, he's one of the best football players in the entire country. But first, a little housekeeping. We have to talk about our trivia question from last week. The question was, who was the first player to have his Heisman Trophy announcement made on live national television? And the answer is Marcus Allen in 1981. And the person who got that right was Mike Wilson out of Fresno, California. Congrats, Mike. We'll send that Heisman hat out to you right away. Now for this week's trivia question, name the 3 Heisman Trophy winners who were born outside the United States. If you think you know the answer to that one, just email us at pod@heisman.com. That's pod@heisman.com. And if you get the answer right, we'll send you a Heisman Trophy hat or duffel bag. Good luck. And now it's time to round up what's happening in the Heisman world.
It's the Heisman Roundup, Week 3. Hype!
While Week 4 on Saturday is bringing us a ridiculous amount of huge matchups, there were plenty of eye-catching performances from Week 3 we need to highlight. And man, we are compelled to start with that epic Colorado State double overtime thriller that the Buffaloes won 43-35. Buffalo's quarterback Shedeur Sanders threw for 348 yards and 4 touchdowns to help his team outlast their intrastate rival. But the showstopper was the late 98-yard game-tying touchdown drive that Sanders orchestrated, almost entirely through the air, that culminated with this 45-yard touchdown strike to Jimmy Horn Jr.
Sanders, downfield, got him in! Horn! Atonement! Touchdown!
Colorado's former Big 12 rival Oklahoma is on its own hot streak, improving to 3-0 after a 60-17 win over Tulsa that saw quarterback Dillon Gabriel throw for 421 yards and 5 touchdowns. The redshirt senior completed a gaudy 28 of 31 throws for a completion percentage of 90.3, which was a school record by a single player. Gabriel likes the way the Sooners' offense is progressing.
Yeah, just as a unit, I think we did really well. Making a bunch of plays, turning, kind of some short passes into chunks. And as well, I think we played with really good tempo, so just putting that all together, it's a beauty to see.
Michael Penix Jr. helped the Huskies drop the hammer on Michigan State, throwing for 473 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 41-7 victory. The lefty signal caller has already passed for 1,332 yards in 3 games with 12 touchdowns. A little luck doesn't hurt, as this second quarter tipped pass fell into the hands of Jalen Polk, who scored on a 30-yard play.
Penix, that one is batted in the air, and it's still a completion. Jalen Polk able to run underneath it and get all the way down for a touchdown. Not exactly how they drew it up, but effective nonetheless.
In another game that featured record-breaking accuracy, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels led the Tigers to a 41-14 victory over Mississippi State behind not only his arm, but his legs. Daniels threw for 361 yards on 30 of 34 passing and 2 scores, the 88.2% completion percentage, an LSU record in games with at least 25 attempts. He also ran in the final 2 scores for the Tigers, including this 1-yard scamper in the 4th quarter.
Daniels pulls, gets free, and spins in again. Jaden Daniels with his second rushing touchdown of the day.
We close the roundup with a tremendous performance from Syracuse quarterback Garrett Schrader, who rushed for 195 yards and 4 touchdowns on 25 carries to go with 184 yards passing as the Orange defeated Purdue 35-20. His 4 rushing scores were the most ever in a game by a Syracuse quarterback. And in a Heisman-related fun fact, this gives Syracuse its first back-to-back 3-0 starts since it was led by Heisman winner Ernie Davis in the 1959 and 1960 seasons. Here's Schrader on his big game.
Yeah, the run game, the quarterback run game was there, just the way they play their defense. A lot of man-to-man, so that getting open, catching balls down the field, and then we knew I'd have a ton of lanes to run and pull the ball, and I probably did a little more than I probably should have, but I mean, we got the job done, so.
Hey college football fans, tickets to the 2023 Heisman Trophy Dinner Gala are now on sale. The event takes place in New York City on Sunday, December 10th, the day after the Heisman Trophy ceremony. The guest of honor for the gala is the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner, as well as the 50th anniversary winner John Cappelletti, the 25th anniversary winner Ricky Williams, and the 10th anniversary winner Jameis Winston. Plus, we'll also be honoring the 2023 Heisman Humanitarian Award winner. Just go to Heisman.com to purchase tickets and witness Heisman history. This episode's featured guest is off to a sizzling start this year. Through 4 games, he leads the country in touchdown passes with 13. He has 1,061 yards passing and a passer rating of 217.81, which is 3rd in the country, with no interceptions in his first 90 attempts. He plays quarterback at the University of Notre Dame, a very prominent position in Heisman lore. Nonetheless, he has a chance to become the first Fighting Irish quarterback to be a Heisman finalist since 2006. So it's been a while. I had a chance to catch up with him last week after practice, amidst the sounds of a very busy athletic department in the background, and with my voice still a bit raspy from a cold I'm recovering from. All right, Sam Hartman, University of Notre Dame, thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
I appreciate you guys having me.
So you're in your 6th year, closing in on 14,000 career yards. Last year, you had 3,701 yards, 38 touchdowns at Wake Forest, 120 career touchdowns, number 10 on the all-time NCAA chart. Can you walk us through how you made the decision to stay for your 6th year and do it all at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a big part of it is the University of Notre Dame and that kind of tagline and that draw. I think I wasn't a Notre Dame fan growing up, but obviously knew the name, seen the movie, Rudy, right, all the fame and lore of that, iconic football brand. Mm-hmm. I think there was a lot of draw there. But I think the biggest thing was I've playing as long as I played in the different teams I've been on. I've seen a lot of guys graduate with eligibility or declare to the NFL with eligibility left, whether it's 3 years, whether it's 2 years, whether it's a year. And then sadly, they never play the game again. And I believe I can play in the NFL. I believe that I'll get my shot, but you never really know. I think sometimes, people get an unlucky draw. They get to a place and, it just doesn't work out. They get hurt. Yeah. And I felt like the opportunity to continue to play college at Notre Dame and the system that I'm playing in with the team that I've been blessed to be a part of was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And I've been, so grateful for that decision. And again, not every decision is going to work out as well as I feel like this one has worked out. And, there's a lot of chapters still we got to complete and a lot of games still left to be played and memories to be made. And I've enjoyed every moment, and it's not always been easy. And the start was not definitely something that I anticipated, but persevering and pushing through. And the team that I've been, graciously, accepted into has been just incredible and a humbling experience for me.
And you're talking about the change of offensive coordinators when you got there?
Yes.
Okay. So you're 24 years old, and you've got a bunch of guys in some cases who are 18, 19. What's it like hanging out with guys who are 5 or 6 years younger than you?
It's not the biggest difference. There's some young guys on the team. You're like, holy cow. Or, you see kids walking across campus when I'm going to class and you're like, dude, that kid looks like he's 12. But again, I probably looked like that I did look like that as a freshman. I was 170 pounds soaking wet and no facial hair, no nothing. And I think it's cool because, again, it's every football team is its own team and every guy on the team is its own guy and you get to learn and know and play with some of the coolest individuals really in the world. And I think that's the great thing about this game we play is, the melting pot of a locker room is iconic in its own self. And it's the only real place in the world where I feel like it's that many people coming together from so many different backgrounds and executing at a high level in a really high pressured situation. And the relationships go way beyond ball. And I've been in now, coming up on my third wedding after the season. I've been a groomsman in 2. I'll be a groomsman in 2 and just in 1 and the other. And again, those are those moments where, like, yeah, winning football games and be a part of a really high level football team is great. But those things off the field are stuff as I get older, right? As I'm the old man, is stuff that you kind of try and tell those freshmen, like, listen, like, your roommate right now is going to be the guy you're telling, hey, brother, I'm about to get engaged with my girlfriend, or this or that, or I'm having, hey, we're having a kid. Like, all those things are starting to happen for me, where it's just like, I can remember those days sitting, in the hot sun running gassers or whatever with that guy. And that's the great part about this game, and something kind of circling the wagons of why I wanted to continue playing and stay in college.
Yeah. It sounds like you made a great adjustment coming from Carolina up to Indiana. What was the biggest adjustment for you?
I mean, the weather was huge. That's kind of passed, but I can tell that it's going to start getting colder here soon.
Yeah.
The offensive schemes, right, being under center, taking snaps, like, I'm still growing and learning on that to this day. And then just the adjustment, a new locker room, new system, new everything, new routines, new house. Like, I've been in the same house for 3 years. Coming up here to a different apartment, like my tracks, where I'm driving to, how I'm getting to different places, where can I park, all those little things you kind of take for granted. As at Wake, it was almost like I could do it with my eyes closed, and then you get here and you feel like a freshman, but you're also supposed to be this 24-year-old, 6-year senior that's got it all put together. And so, but again, I was gracious with Notre Dame, kind of it took me a little bit to get settled in, and even in spring ball, I struggled a little bit early, and they kept their faith in me and just let me develop, and it's paid off so far.
Heard you like to fish. What's the fishing like in South Bend compared to Carolina?
It took a while to be able to. It's so cold here in the spring. The spring's usually a great time down in Winston-Salem to get out. Great weather. There's a lot of ponds up here, but I just don't know enough people to be getting access. And I think the big difference, no salt water. So that's probably a huge bummer.
You made your Irish debut in Dublin, Ireland. What was that whole trip like?
It was an incredible experience. I mean, I think it was a home game for us in all facets of it. It felt like it. There was the crowd, it was all green. Obviously the execution part, a lot of those, and it was very similar to the bowl games I've been to, where kind of the big thing, the asterisk behind every one is if you win or lose, right? The great bowl games are the ones you win. The bad ones are the ones that you lose, no matter what the experience is. But obviously the city of Dublin and Ireland itself just embraced us, with open arms, and the whole, Aer Lingus to the, our ADs setting it all up, to the fans, right, to the community, all those different things were just so warm, welcoming for us. And then again, being around those guys, again, it was kind of like a mini camp trip for us. We got to, be around each other even more. And it's special to get that opportunity. And then obviously to capitalize it with the victory was huge.
Did you talk to a lot of the people in Ireland? Were they really aware of what Notre Dame was about?
Yeah, there was a good healthy crew of people that kind of, when we were walking the streets or we were at like a dinner thing, that, they were excited. My cousin actually lives there. Oh. He's been living there for about like 5 years for work, and he's got, his family there. So he lives 3 minutes from the stadium. So he was all fired up, and he said that everybody from when the month hit, that like August hit, that's all the buzz was about, and how the Irish were coming to town, and, hope we, put on a good show. So they had a lot of fun. A lot of Guinness was drinking.
Yeah.
By other people, not us.
Right. Got a 2-part question. One, who's your quarterback role model? And then who is your beard role model? Because you've probably got the best sports beard since James Harden. And I'm wondering if any facial hair companies are reaching out to you for a little NIL.
I'll answer the second one first. I don't know if I have a beard inspiration. I know the first time I grew out my hair, and like the whole saw Last Samurai. That was like that inspiration, and it's kind of that's what I've been getting for the past couple days. The beard, I don't know. I think it just grows kind of like, I like the like caveman, grizzly bear, like revenant look. I want to clean it up, but I can't. Like I feel like that would be, bad juju or whatever. And then quarterback model, like sadly right now, is Aaron Rodgers. I kind of the style, who he is, kind of just his persona of kind of just playing the game and playing it the way he wants. Obviously thinking about him with the injury, I know that's got to be devastating for really the National Football League of his performance and his caliber and what he brings to the table. But you take a lot. Like I love Jalen Hurts. I think just his story and who he is as a person, from what I've heard, is incredible. And just the way his college career went, right, and kind of the highs and lows of his life. Even though you kind of look at him and say, it's probably super easy and super, very this for him. I think that was also a guy that I look at and like to watch, and just I wish I could run like him and throw like him, but just somebody I have a heavy respect for, and know that he's one of a kind.
Did you have any college football teams that you followed growing up?
I was a diehard Michigan fan, and never was recruited by them, so it soon faded pretty quickly. Obviously, a bad thing for me to say as a Notre Dame quarterback, but that is long gone on me. And I really after kind of when I got probably in probably ninth grade, it was kind of I was just playing and hoping to play at the next level, and got a few offers and decided on Wake, but it was never really any dream. I wanted to play Michigan, but I soon realized that wasn't an option, so I kind of faded away pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now that you're at Notre Dame, how much have you learned about its history and tradition?
Everything. I think the Ireland game summed it up when you have Joe Montana walking on the sidelines. I think that was a special moment for me. I know for the Notre Dame fans, right, having him around has been, something that is, only Notre Dame can do. Joe Theismann, those different guys are reaching out to you and checking in and making sure everything's good. Brady Quinn, right? Jimmy Clausen, like those names, right, are all synonymous with some of the greatest college quarterbacks and some of the greatest NFL quarterbacks to play the game. And just those kind of moments where you're like, this is pretty cool, right? And even, the fans and just the national global outreach that we have as this brand and this university is special, and something that, I don't think I'll ever truly comprehend until I'm out of it, but it's definitely a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah. So the Heisman Trust, its main mission is actually to help underserved communities and youth. And I noticed that you're with the Ronald McDonald House in Michiana and the YMCA. What got you involved in those two organizations?
I think they, Notre Dame partnered with them and gave us the ability to go there. And I got pretty hooked into, both my parents work in medicine. My mom was a nurse, dad's a doctor, both retired, but kind of that service industry and knowing both ends of it, understanding that, there's the workers and also the patients as well, and getting around the Ronald McDonald House and helping, pushing the coffee carts. Like we'll go Friday. I was there on Sunday checking in on a little girl who's going to get a blood transplant. She just was declared cancer free, so we went over and dropped off some sweatshirts and whatnot, some Notre Dame gear. I think it's just the ability to give back and inspire. I've been in a hospital twice with some stuff that I'll never forget. Randy Moss came and visited me when I was 17 years old, and I still have sitting on my bedside a ball signed by him, and it says, stay hungry, rest works. I can see it right now, and it was something that I'm sure he doesn't even remember, and I've been dying to get, I know he does some announcing and commentating of just to get a thank you or I appreciate it. And I know it goes a long way, and something that is special to me and hopefully makes an impact on somebody's day. And I think that's, why I do it and why we do it as a Notre Dame community.
Yeah. What's the best part about playing college football?
The team in the locker room. I think seeing the success and the hard work pay off is the two greatest things, and being around this group of individuals is huge.
Did you have any favorite Heisman winners growing up?
I wasn't really. It's kind of bad. Everybody loved John. Yeah, everyone loved Johnny Manziel, but he's Johnny Manziel. He's one of a kind. I kind of like the guys that went there and didn't win it and came back and had better years. I think it's some of that part of it. I don't. Not really. I would say no. I can't. Okay. No one comes to mind.
Fair enough. Do you know any Notre Dame Heisman winners? Have you met any of them or?
I totally have, and all the names just are flying right out of my head. I have, and it's a shame that I don't know the names. But if I'd been here longer, I feel like I'd be upset. But it's I know that there are a few. You see the Heisman trophies every time you walk into the weight room. So,
Yeah.
but I do need to be more well versed on those names. But I do not know the names.
We'll give you a pass because you're so new.
I appreciate that.
Finally, if you were a Heisman voter and you were looking at a quarterback and wanted to determine, which quarterback was worthy of your vote, what would you be looking for? What little areas that are maybe beyond the top line stats? What would you look at?
I think part of it is the bounce back factor. I think after bad plays, how do they react? I think you want the Heisman to be the perfect, go 10 for 10, 20 for 20, and do all these things. I think the great ones and the ones that I've seen play at a really high level, the ones that just bounce back from adversity. And I think that's in any player, in any award, any whatever you want to call it. I think that ability is probably the biggest one I see.
Sam Hartman, thanks for taking the time to join us on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. Good luck to you and your team for the rest of the season. We wish you good health and success.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Go Irish.
This is Danny Warfel, 1996 Heisman Trophy winner, and you're listening to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Take an even deeper dive into Heisman lore by going to Heisman.com, home to all things Heisman, including news, bios, and the latest on all the winners, plus updates on the Heisman Trophy Trust and its charitable mission. It's the A to Z for everything Heisman, from Alan Amici to Danny Warfel. We really need a Heisman winner whose name begins with Z. Our next guest is one of the more electrifying players in college football history, and the second receiver to win the Heisman Trophy. Like our previous guest, Sam Hartman, he's from the University of Notre Dame. And we had such a good time talking to him and went on for so long, we decided to make this one an all-Irish podcast. He won the Heisman in 1987, the seventh Fighting Irish player to win the Heisman Trophy, and then he went on to a storied career in the NFL. Few players who played the sport were better at returning punts and kicks, and very few could make people miss in the open field like he could. Touchdown Timmy, as he was called, is one of 10 Heisman winners in the NFL Hall of Fame. And we caught up with them last week from Dallas. Tim Brown, thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. We're glad to have you on the show.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to go back to where your football career began, out at Dallas Woodrow Wilson High. I read somewhere that you weren't allowed to play football as a freshman and you were actually playing in the marching band. Is that right?
Well, that story gets jumbled up a little bit. My mom did not know I was playing. And she thought that, I was in the marching band, but I did play freshman football. But the way we practiced, I wasn't getting home at 6 or 7 o'clock. I would still be home by 4:30 because of how we practiced. So she was not in favor of me playing football at all. So my dad kept signing the slips for me to play. So my freshman year, I was in the marching band, and then I made the varsity team my sophomore year. Had a pretty good September. I think I was named sophomore sensation or something like that. And all of her friends kept calling her going, "Your son is in the paper. You should check it out." And they didn't tell her it was sports or whatever. So she come at me, "What did you do? What did you do?" So
you weren't actually in the marching band. You were just pretending to be in the marching band.
No. I was in the marching band my freshman year.
Okay. So what instrument did you play, or did you pretend to?
Yeah, I played the percussions. I played percussion.
Okay. Were you any good?
Oh, very good. Yeah. I mean, I still play a little bit. I play a mean tambourine in church. So
very nice, very nice. So we were talking to John Fish, the head coach over at Woodrow Wilson. He says he talks to you every once in a while, and he says that your golf tournament there is just a huge benefit for their program. What are some of your great memories of Woodrow Wilson High?
Oh, man, I think the thing that was so great about Woodrow was the breakdown of the races. We probably it was probably 40, 30, 30, man, right? Caucasian, Black, and Hispanic. And so, growing up like that, when you're around all these different people, really prepares you for different cultures, different way of people talk and all this stuff, how they react to stuff. And it was really just a great, great place, man. And we really weren't known for our sports per se. Well, we had a great swimming team and a great cross country team, but that was just about it. I mean, everything else we participated, but I don't think anybody. Well, I can't say they never dreamt about it, because at the award ceremony, my senior year, which would have been April, May of '84. Because they didn't count the seasons right, they announced me as a 1988 Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, man.
So she was just off a year, that's all. But so, yeah, I think from that standpoint, man, it was a great place, great friends, friends for life, type place to go to school,
When you were going to school, were you aware that Davey O'Brien had been there?
I had no idea. Had no idea. Didn't realize that until after I won the trophy. Actually, I was not. David had passed away in the late '70s, I believe. So that would have been before I got to Woodrow. So I was never able to be around him. If he came around the school, I'm not even for sure if he did.
Tell me a little bit about the recruiting process. I guess you guys weren't exactly a powerhouse. Your team. Woodrow Wilson wasn't, and so, but you were obviously getting a lot of attention. And what were some of the schools that you were looking at seriously, and what really was the final decision or the final factor in helping you make that decision to go to Notre Dame?
Well, if you call a school that was 425-1 in 3 years of playing football not a powerhouse, maybe you'll be right. So
that was being charitable.
I think for me, right. I think for me. I played the sport simply because that's what my friends were doing, right? So, I wanted to hang out with my boys. So, the cheerleaders seemed to like the football players. So, that's what I was doing, and that's the reason I was doing it. It wasn't until my junior year, we were playing Skyline High School, one of the schools that we beat every year. So, Woodrow and Skyline. Most of the kids that go to those schools, they all went to J. Long Middle School, and then there's a split after that. And some kids go to Long, and some kids go to Woodrow.
Uh-huh.
So that was always a game that we got up for, and we played our best football of the year. Well, this particular game, I had early in my junior year, I had 4 touchdowns: a kick return, a punt return, a long catch, and a long run. I think I had over 400 yards all-purpose yardage that day. And that night, Notre Dame had came to recruit Dante Jones, a kid who went on to play for Oklahoma and played 10 years at middle linebacker for Chicago Bears. They came to recruit him, and I had that incredible game. So then after that, they sent a letter. They came. It was a Thursday night game. I tell people, it's not Friday night football if you play Woodrow Wilson, because we were so bad we had to play on Thursday night. So, that game, played that game, and then after that, it was really just a matter of, okay, what's happening here? Because Notre Dame, once they sent me a letter, it seems like I got letters from everybody around the country, and my mom, she didn't understand. My dad didn't understand. But my older brother, thankfully, he was 8 years older than me at the time, was really blown away by what was happening, and really took control of the situation to help me out.
So you really weren't into football that much. I mean, you were playing football in high school, but you weren't really into watching games and watching teams as much as most guys were.
Well, I love the Cowboys. I mean, I did follow the Cowboys, but that was basically it. And, while my time in high school, SMU with the Pony Express got really hot. So we certainly followed them. But beyond that, man, I mean, I couldn't have, the teams the Cowboys played on a regular basis, the Eagles, the Giants, and the Redskins at the time, I probably could have named players in those teams, but anybody else I probably wouldn't have known that much about them, because it was always Cowboys focused for me.
Yeah. Were you always going to be a receiver, or did other schools want you to be other positions potentially?
I played running back in high school mostly because we didn't have a quarterback who could throw the ball. And so, my senior year, I would rotate from quarterback to running back to receiver. Depends on where the ball was going, is where I would line up. So, I was a good running back. Well, I had great instincts as a running back, but I didn't have the mentality to be a running back. My deal was I always wanted to bounce out or do whatever. I didn't have the mentality, that 4-yard mentality that they talk about, where you got to, make that cut and go get those 4 yards. I never had that mentality. So I knew I couldn't play running back at a high level because I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it through it, I don't believe so.
So once you got that letter from Notre Dame, was it just kind of a fait accompli at that point? Notre Dame came calling, and you're like, okay, this is where I got to go, or because it was Jerry Faust, right? Was the coach?
Right. I had no idea about Notre Dame and didn't know where it was, and literally had to go to the library to look it up to see where it was. And when I figured out it was 1,200 miles away from here, I was like, no way. I had no way I'm going that far away. And, you see the weather. It's like, no, I'm not dealing with that 6 months a year. But my brother, who was also one of these Subway alumni guys, knew everything about the university, or knew a lot about the university, I should say. And, told my parents about, the academia there. And, if he graduates from there, life for him, he'll be able to make do through life, at least, you know what I mean? If he doesn't, if nothing else. And but at the same time, SMU was calling, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa. I think Penn State was in there for a minute. And it was a difficult decision. And I can tell you, if not for what was going on with SMU, SMU would have been a very difficult place to say no to, because it would have given me the opportunity to get a great education and be close to home and play good football, at a high level. So, but once I realized that all those schools, besides Iowa, wasn't so bad, but the other three were really, when it came to rules and things of that nature, they just skirted right by them. Yeah. So my brother wasn't going for that at all. I mean, he told my parents, hey, he could be ruled ineligible if this stuff happens, and cut back on a little cash I was getting, but but I didn't know any better at the time. I'm 16 years old.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so it was a little crazy.
So it was a little bit of a culture shock going to South Bend, Indiana, in the fall of '84, right?
Yeah, you can call it that. I mean, I think that if not, for the fact that you had some great guys there that I knew I was going to be teaming up with, literally guys who I talk to every day now. Actually, we got about 15 guys. We call ourselves Bond, Brothers of Notre Dame. We sort of locked on to each other and hadn't let go in 40 years, right? So, but I think, the great thing about Notre Dame, man, you don't go there thinking about a Heisman Trophy and how many years you can play in the NFL once you leave. You go there thinking, what am I going to do in my life, once I leave here? And so I think from that standpoint, I knew it was going to be tough. The first 6 months was really tough. First semester was extremely tough. But after that, I mean, my folks would always tell me, man, you're not missing anything. We're sitting in the same chair when you're not here. There's no party going on. There's nothing going. You're not missing a thing. So just chill out, and enjoy yourself. So, I think for me, getting through that first semester, being able to come home and then, go back out, now that winter stuff was pretty tough, pretty daunting, right? I mean, trying to deal with that, dealing with feet of snow when you've only had inches in your whole life was a difficult thing. But, as long as you have good snow boots, man, you can make it through.
Did you ever find yourself going out to Chicago to enjoy that city?
Well, the problem is, during football season, you can't go. And then you have winter, you can't go. And but later in my junior and senior year, we would have some more free time than before. So we did spend a couple weekends in Chicago, Michael Jackson concert and things of that nature that we went to go see.
Mm-hmm.
The All-Star game, which I know is earlier in the year, but we did go over there after my senior year. Went over there for that. So yeah, I mean, not as much as people think because it's really not available to us because of the weather and football season.
So yeah, the first 2 years with Coach Faust, and then he was let go. When that happened, were you worried about how things might turn out, and what did you think when you first met Lou Holtz?
Not at all. I mean, look, I went there to get an education. My plan was to get an education, come back home, marry my high school sweetheart, be a deacon in the church. I mean, if you'd asked me that, I would repeat it to you like it was planted on my forehead. So, I think for me, when Coach Holtz came in, it was like, okay, well, this is what he wants us to do, so let's go do it. I mean, it wasn't that I was disappointed or happy because in my mind, I wasn't there just for football. I was there to get an education. And, so it didn't bother me or make me happy or anything until, we went through winter ball first, which was 5 a.m. practices. And we rolled right out of those practices. Everybody had to have an 8 a.m. class. So that was made for a very interesting morning for sure. And once we got on the field, after 2 days of practice, he pulled me over and told me to come to his office. And he had these litany of questions, man. Just, why weren't you playing more? I don't know, Coach. They just didn't play me. Don't you lie to me, kid. You tell me the truth. Why weren't you playing? Coach, I don't know. Was it drugs? Was it women? Was it grades? You tell me the story right now. I said, Coach, I have no idea. These people there's no coaching staff in America dumb enough not to play you. You tell me the truth right now. And so that went on for a couple of minutes until he realized I didn't have another answer for him because, the only thing I could tell him is, hey, look, the very first time I touched the ball, I fumbled to open the kickoff my freshman year, literally to open the kickoff of the year. I fumbled it. And I think they just didn't have any trust in me anymore, So, and they were trying to, they knew they were struggling as a coaching staff. So they weren't going to put a kid out there that in their minds may not perform for them. You know what I mean? So, so after all that, he told me, after 2 days of practice, he told me he thought I could be the best player in the country. And I looked around like somebody else had walked in the room because, I just knew he wasn't talking to me. And, so, he told me, I'm doing things on the field that he had never seen before in a player, things that they're not asking me to do. You can run with the ball, you can catch the ball, you know what I mean? And then he told the media that he thought I was the most intelligent player that he'd ever coached. And everybody got all excited about that. I told him, well, he was at Arkansas and Minnesota, so I don't know how excited we should be about him.
That is too good. I can imagine Coach Holtz doing that rant and asking those questions. So you weren't very self-aware as a player. You kind of didn't know how good you were.
Well, I knew I was fast, and I knew I had the ability to make people miss. And I guess if you're fast and you have the ability to make people miss, and you can catch a ball, that those things can go hand in hand. But at Woodrow, they did what they had to do because that's the only way we had a chance of winning the game. And as you can see, it didn't work out but 4 times in 3 years. But I never felt like that was the focus in the 2 years, with Jerry Faust. And again, I understand why. But so I was never in that position before where I was a guy or, we're going to get you 10 touches a game or 7 touches a game or whatever. And Lou told me that the only way I wouldn't get the ball is if they found a way to intercept the snap from center. If he did that, he couldn't get me the ball. But if the ball got to his quarterback, it was going to get in my hands some kind of way. And, that kind of confidence, even with that, it literally took me a couple weeks because after 2 days, he brought me in, but he was bringing me in every day for a couple weeks after that. And just saying, man, look, this is incredible stuff, And I finally just said to myself, look, this old man is crazy. Just do what he says, and and this all pass by, and we can go back to being who we were, right?
Right.
And that's what I said to myself. Just go out and do everything that he asks you to do, full speed. You know what I mean? And that's what I did, man. And everything just literally took off from there.
It sounds to me, based on what you're saying, that Coach Holtz saw you and kind of told you what you needed to hear, right? Like he could read you and could see that, you were very talented, and maybe though that you didn't have a lot of confidence, and maybe you didn't really know the context of where everything fit. Do you think that's why he saw that, and that's why he spent that time on you?
Well, I think I was confident when I hit the field. My thing is, I never looked at football as a way out, right? I always thought my way out was get the education. So Coach was the one who told me I could have both. And that was really the thing that opened up my mind. He said, son, you can have both. And I had never thought about having both. I've never, because my mom and dad, when I walked out the house, man, they told me there's no future in football for you, boy. You go up there and get that education and come on back home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was my mindset. So when he convinced me that I could have both, that's when I was like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really opened me up to, okay, well, let me go do all this on the football field. Then I can go back and do my studies, and and it just, that changed me right there, because I had never thought about that. I've never had a conversation with anybody about having both.
So I want to talk about your punt return and kick return abilities. Was that something you were always good at? Was it a natural thing, or did you have to work at it to become good?
No, it was, from the time I started playing football, man, I can remember us, when in the sixth grade, sort of lining up and doing that. And I always wanted to be the guy in the back who was returning the kicks or whatever. And even though we didn't have no pads on or anything of that nature, I would work so hard to make sure no one even touched me, and running around little sixth graders, So, but even in junior high school, I returned punts and kicks, and of course, you didn't get many that came to you. You had to go pick them up on the ground. But I always found a way to return one or two, if not more, every year. And of course, once you get to high school, the bigger lights are on you. But it was always something that I felt very, very comfortable doing. So to fumble the opening kickoff my freshman year was devastating from a lot of point of views, right? Because this is what I knew I could do, right? I don't know about this receiver stuff or whatever position they're going to have me playing eventually, but I knew I could return punts and kicks. That was something that I thought I was very comfortable doing. And so that was a real setback for me from a confidence standpoint, returning kicks and stuff anyway. But I did go in the game later on. They had a package for me that they had canceled after the fumble, but they allowed me, they called the package and they were trying to call me back. And I was like, I'm not turning around. Somebody's going to have to come get me out the huddle. And I ended up making a big catch that kept a drive going. So yeah, it was definitely that type of thing. But I always felt like returning kicks was something that I could do at every level that I played football.
Yeah. You talked about not having the running back mentality. But you did obviously have the return man mentality. What is the return man mentality in football? Like what kind of person is the return man? The person who would go back there and take on all comers, take on the entire team. Sometimes you're back there and the crowd's cheering at you, jeering at you. It's got to be a certain kind of cat to be that guy, right?
Well, yeah, and not trying to be funny, but you have to be a little scared. You really have to be a little scared, because you can't get back there going, oh, I'm just going to, absorb all these hits. You gotta have the mentality, man, I don't want these guys to touch me. I don't want these guys to hit me. And what do I have to do to avoid that? You know what I mean? And, and I think most of the time, I had a way of dodging the hits, because I knew, first of all, I had to get up and go back into the offense. And second of all, I always knew this. If I weighed 190 and a guy hitting me weighs 220, I'm going to lose that battle.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm going to lose that battle. So don't try and take these guys on. Get what you can get and get down, but get down in a way that's positive for your team, and not that you're giving up yourself, but you realize I can't do it anymore. So let me just make sure I get down, And so look, I often say that, man. I look at punt returning now and kick returning, and I wonder how in the world did I do that for 17 years in the NFL, and well, all 27 years of my playing football, I returned punts and kicks, and it's a crazy thing when you think about it. But I think the brave guys are the guys who get hurt, are the guys who get the big hits. There's no reason to ever take a big hit on a punt return because you always have the right to put your hand up and fair catch it. And if you start running, then get you 10 yards and get your butt down.
Yeah.
So I think from my standpoint, I know that scared answer is not probably what you're looking for, but it played a big part in my mentality of how to return punts.
Mm-hmm. So you go into 1986, and the Irish, there's a lot of close games that year. You guys were really close. I think you were 5-6, but
yeah,
I feel like 3 or 4 of the losses could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I heard your name watching television was that USC Notre Dame game, the end of your junior year. And you just really exploded onto the national stage in that game. What are your memories of that game? And is that accurate? Did it make you feel like you'd sort of arrived after that game happened?
Yeah, that game definitely set me up for the 87 season, no doubt about it. I don't remember what I had all-purpose, but I think it was over 200 yards all-purpose that game. And to have the big punt return at the end of the game, and I think I had a big catch in the game or whatever. So, it was a fantastic game for me, and I'm thankful that it was USC. It was a team that we had beaten every year, and that we had a streak going at that time. I don't remember what it was, and certainly there was a lot of talk about that. Let's go out and finish the year. I think SC was on their way to a bowl game, I believe, and so that was our bowl game. The season was over after that, and we knew that obviously going into the game. So for me, we didn't think that SC was going to kick us the ball. I'd had a pretty good year returning punts. And and they hadn't punted me the ball all game. And all of a sudden, the last punt of the game, for the most part, they punted me the ball. And I don't know, if you go back and look at that film, I'm like jumping like, oh my God, I can't believe the ball is coming up. It's coming my way. My guys, because everybody was so committed to our punt return, kick return team, I mean, they did an incredible job and set a wall up, and all I literally had to do was run.
Well, kicking the ball to you was probably one of the reasons Ted Tollner got fired not long after that game. And that was the game you guys got over the hump. You guys finally won a close game, beat USC. Yeah. They were ranked. Yeah. And so now you're going into the offseason, going into your senior year. Are things starting to come together in your head? As the new year's approaching, are you thinking, hey, I can have a huge year? They're going to use me all kinds of ways. Or what was your mentality going into that senior year?
Well, in the locker room after that game, the late great reporter Jim Murray from LA Times came up to me and said that I was going to be his front runner for the Heisman next year. And that freaked me out because literally I hadn't thought about that all year. I had an incredible junior year, but I hadn't thought about, and no one had really mentioned that. The Notre Dame reporters had never mentioned my name for the Heisman my junior year. So I remember going out and telling my brother, hey, man, this guy said I was going to be his front runner for the Heisman this year. And I was like, because we hadn't never talked about the NFL. And I was like, well, even if I don't win the Heisman, you think somebody may want me to play in the NFL? And we looked at each other like, nah, that ain't going to happen. Nah, that ain't going to happen. What are you talking about, kid?
Yeah.
And so we just shrugged it off, man, and went about our business. But things quickly changed after that because, the list for the 87, the top 10 players for the 87 came out like after the last bowl game of the year or whatever.
Yeah.
And my name was, top 3, 4, 5, or whatever it was, top 10 for sure. And so we realized then that life was changing, and the preparation for the next season had to start now. We ended up getting a Lloyd's of London insurance policy and all those kind of things just to sort of, make sure if anything happened, then, certainly I could, recoup some cash out the deal. But yeah, but as far as I ran track that off season at Notre Dame, so I was really trying to do everything I wanted to do and not really be so, football conscious. Oh my God, I got to go run this route again and all that kind of stuff. And I think, being free like that sort of, let me go into the next season, excited, but not really with any kind of expectations of winning a Heisman or anything else. You have to understand that I had never had a winning season playing football. Well, I think maybe maybe we went 6-5. Jerry's last, I don't know. Maybe we went 6-5 one of those years. I'm not for sure.
I think 84. I think 84. You might have gone 7-5 or
6-5. I think we went 6-5. Yeah, because we went to a bowl game and lost to SMU, I believe it was, where I returned a kick for a touchdown in that game. But when we got off to such a great start my senior year, I think we were 7-1 or something like 6-2 or something like that. It really
7-1.
Yeah, that was all that I was focused on, man. I think we went into the Penn State game. We win that game. I think we go to Miami with a chance to go play for the championship. But we lose the Penn State game, so everything was off after that.
A very close game, 21-20.
All because friggin' Tony Rice don't pitch me the ball. If he pitches me the ball, I walk in.
Well, Tony Rice was still splitting time with it was Andrzejak, or what was his name?
Well, Andrzejak, he was out because he tore his he broke his collarbone or something, so he was out.
That's right.
But so I think up until the Penn State game, there was no talk in the locker room about me winning the Heisman. Literally, I mean, even after the Michigan State game, when I had those incredible 2 punt returns back to back, the boys then started talking about the Heisman. We were all so focused on trying to win a championship until we lost at Penn State. And after that, that's all the boys talked about. Let's go win Timmy the Heisman. Let's go do this and let's go do that. And I can't say I didn't play bad in Miami, but I didn't have any kind of a game in Miami because, obviously they were so pumped up to play us. We didn't get, I think we lost 20-6 or something of that nature. But, it was certainly not the last game I wanted to have at Notre Dame in the regular season for sure.
Coach Holtz really, I thought, used you in many different ways that year. He had you played a little bit of running back, lined up at running back. You were all over the field. I remember the USC game. You were all over the field in that game. But really the key to that season for you winning the Heisman is what everyone talks about are those 2 punt returns against Michigan State. Was that something that was that sort of like just your day as a punt returner? Like, were you feeling it that day? How do you explain the rare circumstance of doing 2 punt returns?
Well, it's really, really amazing, man, when you think back on that, because it shouldn't have happened. It wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
The first punt was a planned return right? And I really should have fair caught the ball because they were close enough to me that, I probably should have fair caught the ball. But I just said, hey, look, I mean, the defense had played, and there was a little air, a little buzz in the stadium, man. I was like, let's try to make it happen. And almost as soon as I catch the ball, I have to dip, a little bit just to get up into the wedge. And then I was able to get, it's like everybody ran past me almost. And now I get out to the outside and, it's me and one guy. And I always felt in open field that if anybody touches me, not tackles me, touches me in open field, then I'm a quit football. That's what I used to tell myself all the time.
Yeah.
And so I made a move on that guy and got to the end zone. Now, understand this. There was no TV timeout, right? So we kicked the extra point, and we line up and we kick the ball off. And in 3 plays, the defense is off the field.
Yeah.
So I'm literally on the bench with oxygen mask on. And I told Coach Stu, I said, Coach, you gotta block this. You gotta block this because I'm dead, right? So we had a block on. There's no return set up.
Yeah.
So when I catch the ball, I say to myself, run to your sideline and just try to run out of bounds. But as soon as I got the ball, I realized they had covered the field pretty good. And, so I wasn't going to be able to get to the sideline. I would literally have to run, horizontal to the field, to get to the sideline. So I was like, okay, well, let me just take it up in here a little bit. And one guy he got overzealous and and he went too far outside. I was able to make a cut on that guy.
You shook him pretty good.
And after that, it was, now all my guys are coming back towards me for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So they're picking guys off behind me. So now it's me and the punter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, again, now if a punter touches you, now you should really give up your helmet that day. So I made a move on him and I got in the end zone. You saw when I got in the end zone, I just flipped the ball. I couldn't even move. I was so tired. But, so look, what's meant to be is meant to be, right? And that's how I look at it. But, that happened on a play that I was literally supposed to fair catch again. But, I just chose, let me get a few yards. And that turned into, cut inside. And all of a sudden, it was me in open field again. And so I'm thankful for it. You know what I mean? Even though it wasn't a call return and all that. But I guess when it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
So later on in the year, you get the word that you're heading to New York. Did you go to New York thinking you were going to win?
You never want to put yourself in that position, right? To be that disappointed. But one of my boys came up to me, one of my teammates, and he said, Timmy, look, you're going to win the Heisman because no one is going to vote you worse than second, right? Gaston Green may win in the West, but you're going to be second.
Yeah.
And Donnie may win in the East, but you're going to be second.
Mm-hmm.
Where Donnie is going to be third or fourth. And he had this logic, man, that made perfectly
great analysis, actually.
You know what I mean? And so I was like, yeah, don't, Timmy, don't go there, don't let go there, So, but look, to be in that room, to be in that situation, was incredible. Obviously, it's nothing like it is now. But no, that was a remarkable moment, man. And but no, I tried not, even though my boy made a lot of sense, I tried to go there with because you shake hands with James Brown and he says, you had a great year, Tim. And you think, oh wow, okay, well, he would know, right? And then you shake hands with Jim Nance. He said, well, whatever happens, Tim, you had an incredible. Oh, I didn't win it, So it's like everybody you shake hands with, So it's a nerve-wracking place to be, but what a great place to be at the same time.
And then they say your name, and then what goes through your head?
Well, I didn't realize at that time, but I think I sort of went into shock, man. I went up there, I couldn't say a word. I was just I saw my mom and dad, so I thanked them. My brother, I saw him, and Coach Holtz, and that was it. That's all I could get out. I went and sat down after that. But no, look, it's shocking, man, to realize that what Coach Holtz had said to you 2 years prior had just came true.
Yeah.
That you are now the best player, and I'm putting up air quotes if you can't see me, the best player in the country, right? And Coach says all the time that he didn't come to New York to see me win. He came there if I lost, right? And if I didn't win the Heisman, he wanted to be there for me. And so it was a amazing, amazing moment. But I didn't realize then, but I quickly realized that winning that award changed my name, right? Because unless I'm in church, I'm always announced as Heisman Trophy winner Tim Brown.
So your life changed after that?
No doubt. Without a doubt.
So you went on to have a star-studded career, NFL. My producer, Paul, is actually a huge Raiders fan, and he's super excited about this interview. You also played with a couple other Heisman Trophy winners on the Raiders, Marcus Allen and Charles Woodson. Did you guys were you guys able to form a special bond over having that shared experience of winning the Heisman?
Yeah, at one point Bo was there, so
That's right. When I
got to training camp, there were 4 Heisman Trophy winners on the roster because Bo wasn't in training camp with us, but he was on the roster. But Jim Plunkett was in training camp with me my rookie year for
That's right.
a couple of weeks before they cut him. So the Raiders had four guys on the roster. Desmond ended up playing with me, and my man out of Houston, the quarterback. Oh, geez, drawing a blank on him.
Andre Ware?
Yeah, Andre Ware. He came there for a minute. So, no. Ware was. We played a game where Andre Ware was at Detroit. Barry was there. Bo, Marcus, and myself, and all 5 of us scored a touchdown that night.
Wow.
In a Monday night game in 1990. So, so it was, the Heisman thing, man. Look, I mean, I think, the Heisman, I don't want to say it's a curse, but if you win the Heisman and now you're in an NFL locker room, the ribbon that you take, man, the punishment that you take is way beyond anything that you can ever imagine.
What do they say? What do they say to you? What can they say?
Well, you have guys who, are 29, 30 years old who will flat out come out and tell you, you better be lucky I wasn't in college there because you wouldn't have won nothing. I would have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, you just have guys, defensive guys are a little short in the brainstem anyway, I think sometimes. So, so you had guys that would come up and just say crazy stuff to you. And I think that's partly why you have some guys who failed because the mental beatings that you take in your own locker room is enough to discourage you from being a good player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, but I think for me, the best thing that happened to me, I fumbled up in the kickoff in my freshman year. The first time I touched the ball in the NFL, I returned it for a touchdown. You know what I mean? So
you rectified the situation.
It put me in a situation that if I never do it again, you can't say I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And guess what? I never did it again because
right.
I didn't return kickoffs after my rookie year.
Yeah.
So it put me in a position where no one could come and say, you're a bust, you're this, you're that. You know what I mean? After my first year, I should have been rookie of the year. They gave it to that freaking dancing running back up in Cincinnati, Ickey Woods.
Yeah, he had that little dance. That's right.
I was like, he barely had 1,000 yards that year.
You should have. You just needed to have a dance to win it. That's all
right?
pub.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it probably would have helped if we'd been in the playoffs that year.
Yeah,
so.
Right. Tim Brown, 1987 Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Notre Dame. Thank you so much for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. Fascinating account of your amazing career at Notre Dame, and we thank you for coming on.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
The official Heisman Trophy podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, co-produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. Paul Goldberg is the executive producer and editor. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to the Heisman Trophy Trust and its executive director Rob Whalen and associate director Tim Henning. The official Heisman Trophy podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find clips of our show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just go to @Heisman Trophy.